And welcome everybody to the 2018 Canadian National Championships. My name's Tim Backers, joined by Mitch Braley for this third place playoff in the gold division, the open division of men's doubles. Today is the last day of doubles before we move into singles. We have an interesting matchup, Mitch. The Landeryou brothers seeded 3, Webb and Connell seeded 4. It's how the seeds were set up, right? 1 and 2 in the final, 3 and 4 in the third, fourth place. Will we see an upset?
I don't know what an upset. I know the Landeryous played fantastic in that semifinal yesterday. They fell in 2 to Iwasa and Murray, but they put up a tremendous fight. They both played really well there, especially James on that left side. Connell and Webb had a bit of a tougher time there. They had a roller coaster of a match. They played great, and then they had other times where they were pretty flat. So if both teams play well, this should be a real close one and a lot of fun to watch.
Well, I talked to we're just having a little joke because the camera rattled a little bit from a hard slam of the door. But I know I spoke to Webb this morning, and he said he was disappointed with a few decisions yesterday and, you know, still upset about them. And you've kind of got to let that go. The result's over. We move on. It's a new match.
I think so. I mean, he's still young, and he's just starting to get into these deep matches here at the senior events. So I think it's an important learning opportunity to put those, whatever, if he wants to call it a bad call, behind him and really focus on this third place match here at hand. He can still have a fantastic finish.
Well, you call him young, but he's very experienced. He's obviously been successful at the Junior World Championships, but he's the defending champion, if memory serves me, with Mike Green.
He is the defending champion. Yeah, he played with Michael Green last year. They had a great tournament together. So I'm sure he's disappointed not to be playing in the final, which is going to be after this match. But third place is still impressive, and we'll see if he's able to do it here with Connell. Our
official is Terry Nelson, just going over a few rules. Speaking of schedule, just a reminder coming up after this. Scheduled for 5 p.m. is the men's doubles final. Iwasa Murray. Samuel Murray against Bousquet and Tommy Murray. Should be a great match. We hope you stick around for that. Meanwhile, we have a 2 games to 15. You win by 2. And if you go to a tiebreaker, it's to 11, win by 2. In the red on the left side of your screen is Trevor Webb. On the right is Lee Connell. And then the Landeryou brothers on the back right is Tim Landeryou. On the left, James Landeryou. Nice to see them both wearing same colors. Makes it very easy for us watching. This is day 3 of the doubles tournament. The finals are all today. Earlier we saw the women's final. Jen Saunders and Frédéric Lambert won their match 2 straight. A little bit of controversy at the end of that match. You can go back on Facebook and watch the end of that with a little carry call that created some decisions for our head official. But here we go. This is the men's third, fourth place. 0 serving 0, Webb to serve. Just a replay, says our official Nelson. You saw Landeryou put his hand up. We'll see Landeryou's hand a lot, I think, in this match.
I think so, if that first point was indicative of anything.
Tim, incidentally, on the right side, given that they're both called Landeryou. That should be a replay. Looked a bit wild. I don't think there's any argument there. 2 replays to start this match. Connell over on the right is a bit of a wild card. Can play very hot, but a little bit more streaky than the other 2 with plenty of experience between them.
Yeah, I think he could be the X factor in this match for sure, depending on how he comes out in this first game.
Good rally. Oh, and there it hits Connell for a side out. Terrific get. James Landeryou on the left. And another error from Connell gives the first point to the Landeryou brothers. Landeryous haven't always played together. It's kind of an off and on thing over the years, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe they did play together last year at the Nationals. I think they finished 5th place overall, but I was trying to look back. Looks like they tend to alternate years. They had a couple different partners from their home province of Saskatchewan they would play with, but probably ongoing partnership for the past decade between the two of them.
Well, it sounds like we're going to have our first discussion. I think what Landeryou is saying is that he thought the ball hit Webb. It'll be a replay. Good shot that time from Connell. An emotional player, probably the most emotional on that court today.
Yeah, definitely those other 3 players, Landeryou brothers especially, are very reserved. So Lee Connell definitely stands out from everybody else.
Skip from James Landeryou on the left side. Side out. And you can tell from the expression from the face of Trevor Webb what happened there. Skip ball, had what he wanted up in the service box. Little too low. Side out, half out, excuse me. 2-0, 0-2. Wow, what a shot, Connell.
He makes those look tough. He kind of hits it on his back foot there, and it's something he's really good at that a lot of players struggle to make those.
Good pickup, Tim Land. Oh, not quite enough. All square at 2-2. That's soft hands from Webb. We talked about that yesterday. He's got that intelligence to be able to take some pace off the ball when he needs to.
Yeah, I mean, none of these players are real big hitters, power players. They can hit the ball crisp when they want to, but they all place it really well. Then you don't have to hit it 150, 160 miles an hour to hit a winner.
Great wide angle from Tim Landeryou, catching Webb. One of the things we noticed yesterday as well is how Webb and Connell switch sides when they're receiving versus when they're serving.
Yeah, it's interesting. It looks like Trevor is coming up and returning that lob serve from Tim Landeryou really well there, so perhaps it's part of the strategy, just a good serve return.
So here's our first avoidable hinder called. There are line judges, and the line judges agree with that call. Looked like Landeryou was wanting to take that swing, and Webb was just flat out in his way. Uncharacteristic from Webb, skips it on the right side. For serving 3. Safety hold up replay. Wow, soft hands from Landeryou on the left side. Really guided that into the front left. You know, these players, they've been playing each other a lot over the years, I think it's fair to say.
They have been, actually. Trevor excluded the Landeryous and Connell all grew up in Saskatchewan playing each other from probably when they were young, you know, 8, 9 years old up until now, and they're all in their late 20s, early 30s, so probably going on 20 years.
6-3. Landeryou on the right. Tim won that point with a backhand winner. There's an example, Mitch, of the Landeryous. We talked about it yesterday, how they're patient. They don't try to do too much. They keep the ball in play. They don't make many mistakes.
Yeah, you know, they're not going to give any free points. They're not going to go for shots that are tough and skip a lot or make a lot of unforced errors. So they're going to force you to stay in the rally and play really consistent racquetball.
Well, it looks like we have our first timeout of the match taken by Webb and Connell. You know, if you're coaching Webb and Connell, what kind of advice would you give them right now?
Looks like they're just having trouble settling into this match. So there's a lot of wild shots right now that are being hit. They're having trouble tracking the ball. So I think they need to get back to hitting some really good wide angles, just like we talked about the Landeryous doing, hit some ceiling balls and make the Landeryous shoot from deep. They really haven't had to make a lot of shots from 38, 39 feet yet.
Well, it certainly seems to be the strategy of the Landeryous of just playing error-free. And a lot of times, especially in doubles, if you can avoid those dreaded skips, you put yourself in a position to win simply because it's very hard to kill the ball in doubles.
Exactly. I mean, we saw a few skips from Webb and Connell just trying to make the shot too good when really tough to hit that kill in doubles. It is possible, but usually a good pass down the line, cross court is a more effective shot.
Words of wisdom from Mitch Braley, who's joining us today. Appreciate your contributions. Of course, this is the fourth playoff, and we'll be moving on to the final after this. We hope you stick with us for that. Here we go, 7 serving 3. Little bit screen, James Landeryou in front of Connell. You can see the little gesture from Tim Landeryou. Really, come on, you're gonna give him that replay, but I think it's a fair call.
I think so too. I think it's a little bit of frustration.
I think a point was given.
I think it was, yeah. Ball hit Connell.
Tim Landeryou sticking with this high lob. And a rare skip from James Landeryou. He played very clean yesterday. Kind of surprised us a little bit with how much he controlled that match. Even though they came out losing in that tiebreaker, he was the one who really took charge for the two brothers.
Oh, he played fantastic yesterday for most of that match, but like we talked about there, it needs to be Webb and Connell hit some good ceiling balls and making them shoot from deep, and you'll bring out those mistakes.
Another mistake from Webb on the right side. 9-3 is the score. Beautiful from Webb. You could see Tim Landeryou kind of in the way, and Webb said, you know what, I'm just going to swing through on this and make sure we get this call rather than putting it on the official to make an avoidable hinder decision.
Speaks to the experience he has as a young player. Most will get intimidated and not want to get pushed like that, but smart play from Webb.
Well, there's a great shot from James Landeryou. You waited for the ball to drop, put it down, no return. Connell to serve. See if he serves left, looking for that jam serve. 3-9. And got jammed up. Landeryou on the right side. Really going for that return. Catching Connell a little bit unaware. Side out, no points earned. 9-3. Great serve. Unreturned by Trevor Webb. Terrific effort from James Landeryou. He's so long. He has such a great reach.
We talked about it last night after that semifinal match, how good his hands are up front there, especially in that left corner. He doesn't miss a lot of those.
Of course, we talk him up. And what do we get but a skip, side out. 3 serving 11. Webb and Connell need some momentum here. They've struggled to find any rhythm. And James Landeryou punished that serve, going straight down the line. I talked with Webb this morning about his serve. He's been practicing with Mike Green, who's famous for that drive serve, and that one, not as good as he probably wanted.
No, he has been serving well this whole tournament, but there's it's just such a high level of play. Anything loose is usually going to end up with a winner by your opponent.
And there's a great example. Tim Landeryou just ripped that ball down the right side. Again, no points scored when they had the opportunity.
It's frustrating to be on that end of it.
Good shot that time by Webb. Second server. Well, you talked about Connell being the X factor. Right now, he just doesn't seem to be in rhythm, not putting the ball down, just kind of really setting up the Landeryou for another shot.
I don't really think he's hit a lot of winners or even shots that have put a ton of pressure on. He's struggling to find his rhythm here in this first game for sure.
There's an example set up for Landeryou. Good hands from Webb to keep it alive. And then he puts another one down. I'm not sure what that was about. You saw Webb talking to Tim Landeryou on the right. I think we have a timeout, though, on the court. So, really, it's just all Landeryou's right now.
I mean, yeah, they played great in the semis last night. They've brought that same intensity and level here to this third place match. They're both playing well, executing well. I think James Landeryou on the left has still been the more dominant player. He's seen a lot more of the balls, but he's executing the shots he needs him to. And on the flip side of the coin, you have Connell and Webb really struggling to execute anything, especially Connell at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the change in dynamics given, we need to recognize this is the first game. And we saw yesterday how bizarre racquetball can be, where a team loses the first 15-1, which was Webb and Connell, and then come back and win the next 15-4. And so although this is how it is right now, it doesn't necessarily have to be this way. It just needs something to turn that momentum.
I think so, and I was going to mention, I mean, Webb and Connell lost that first game yesterday 15-1, so, I mean, they have 3 right now. They're off to a better start than they were in the semifinal, but they're both mentally tough players. Connell, very emotional, but also very mentally tough. He goes in there and he keeps grinding and grinding, so if they can get a few points here, have some good momentum going into the second game, hopefully they can turn it around like they did in the semifinal second game last night.
And just a reminder, you are watching the third, fourth place playoff, for the Canadian National Championships. This is the open division of men's doubles. Coming up after this will be the final, but it's currently 12-3 in favor of the Landeryou brothers. James on the left, Tim on the right, Connell in the back on the left, and Webb on the right. Little error from Webb, but you have to say Connell's ceiling ball wasn't great, and from then on it was all Landeryou's.
Yeah, put Webb in a top position in that rally there.
It's not a bad idea getting them deep, but you have to execute a little better. Lots of defense from Landeryou's. And look at that. First game goes to the Landeryou brothers, 15-3. We didn't really expect a score this diverse, but who knows what happens in game number 2.
Oh, that hurt. No, I mean, it's just like last night's semifinal. We had a blowout first game, but that 2 minutes makes a huge difference. So second game could just as easily see Webb and Connell really get into this and make this a competitive match.
So we're just going to take a short break, and we'll leave the stream running, and we'll be back with you in just a minute. And we're back, everybody, for game number 2 of this third, fourth playoff between the Landeryou brothers. James on your left, Tim on the right, and Trevor Webb and Lee Connell. Landeryou won the first pretty comfortably, 15-3. Definitely a higher skip count for the two in red in the back. I think Mitch, if they can cut that down, it'll be a much more competitive second game.
Oh, definitely. If they can, first of all, they don't even have to hit winners when they're going for those skips. Just keep the ball in play, and you're going to draw some mistakes out, put a lot more pressure on.
Good hands from Webb to keep that ball alive. Tim Landeryou. And there's an error from Tim Landeryou. He ran out to cover it, just didn't execute. Second serve. Interesting change up that time from Webb. Went for the jam serve. This will come off the back wall. Beautiful kill shot, James Landeryou. The ceiling ball wasn't great, and he punished it. Wow, flick of the wrist from Connell. We haven't seen that in game one.
I don't know if he killed anything like that in the first game there, so that's a good start to the second game.
So side out, 0 serving 1. Tim Landeryou sticking with this lob down the right side. Wow, what a shot, James Landeryou. Can't do it any better than that.
And that's not an easy shot, too. He's kind of leaning back on his backhand heel and still put the ball away. Impressive shot.
Well, I think he got it. He says he framed it. It looked awkward. It sounded odd. But the Landeryous earned another point. Great rally in the middle. Won by Webb that time. Notice that Connell switched over onto the right to receive that. Looks like they're staying now with Webb on the left, Connell on the right.
Might be for the best if Webb's getting more balls on that left side there. He has been the more steady player this match, so might turn the momentum in their favor.
It's 3-1, I think. Looked like a skip from Webb. Skip from Tim Landeryou. There's a good example. Webb didn't do too much, forcing Tim Landeryou to maybe take something he didn't want to hit, put it in the floor side out.
It's just a good, solid shot into the back of the court.
Great shot. Webb left side. Excuse me, 2-2 is the call. That previous one was a replay. But a skip from Webb. He rips one and then skips one. What an exchange. And then a skip from Connell. Back and forth in the middle. So there's an appeal. Line judges agree with the official. So call stands. 2-2, side out. Connell was there. Wasn't able to execute. Okay, so Webb puts Landeryou back in the service box. It's going to be a replay. You could see Connell was a little hindered. The shot was good, but I think Connell was wanting the replay before they started. And a mistake from Webb on the left gives the Landeryou the lead in this second game, 3-2. Great pickup, Tim Landeryou. Not that time. And you can hear Connell talking to himself, trying to get himself motivated and his teammate.
It's a good shot. That's what he needs. He hasn't finished a lot of rallies, so for him to win it like that, it's a positive sign.
And there's Webb with a reverse pinch winner. Gets the side out. Definitely the most emotional on the court, Connell. 2 serving 3. Point for Webb and Connell. And another error. This time James Landeryou, you can see he's not happy with himself. Different serve. Went down the middle.
It's a good mix-up and drew the unforced error. So it's a great change up there. Let's see what he comes out with this time.
Just a replay, says our official, Terry Nelson. Good shot that time, James Landeryou down the left side. Serve kicked out, it got punished. Connell to serve. Well, what did you think about that idea? Serving over to the left side.
Didn't work too well. I mean, it was a bit of a shallow serve. I think if he executed it, maybe would have been more effective, but James was able to step in and hit a winner.
One of the disadvantages of serving over to that side is, of course, your partner's there. It's important to communicate if you're going to do that so your partner isn't left hung out to dry, so to speak.
Yeah, I think you definitely need to be on the same page there. It's I've been in that position before too. It's not fun to be in that box when your partner's serving to your side.
Particularly when you didn't know it.
Gets pretty scary out there.
3 serving 4. Very slow start to this second game. Wow. There's the Tim Landeryou forehand pinch that I've seen over the years.
It's a great shot, and it's I mean, 39 feet above his shoulders, but he's so good at it. He's done it so many times in the past, so it's fairly routine for him.
And notice as well, he switched to a drive serve.
It's a good serve. Might be a good plan.
An error from James Landeryou that time. Half out. Just a reminder, if you're just joining us, the Landeryou brothers won the first, 15-3.
15-3, that's correct.
But a flick of the wrist from James Landeryou, that was incredible. What great hands.
Yeah, both those brothers have terrific hands at the front. You don't want to leave them up there with any setups.
Well, that time it's Connell who hits the winner. Side out, 4 serving 5, back and forth we go. Webb. That's a beautiful shot. Well, that's just a mistake from Connell and Webb. A little miscommunication between the two. Ball passes between them. And you can see they're having a little discussion about it. Second server. Let's see what this serve. Let's see what this serve will be. Again, over to James Landeryou. And look at the soft hands from Trevor Webb. That was beautiful.
Took a page out of the James Landeryou book on that one.
Really soft hands. But not that time. An error from the racket of Trevor Webb over on the left. Back and forth in this second game. 5 serving 6. Back to the lob serve goes Tim Landeryou. Well, you can see what happened. James Landeryou lifts his face to the sky, says, "Why did I do that?"
Went for a lot on that one. I mean, you shoot from overhead at 39 feet. It's odds aren't in your favor, even as well as he's been playing this match.
And look at this. The Landeryou brothers switch.
Interesting switch up.
Great shot from Connell. Landeryou's want to skip. They'll be on an appeal. Call stands. See a lot of switching between these two pairs, going from one in front, one back to side by side throughout these rallies. That's a mishit from Webb. James Landeryou. He'll get another shot. Should be a replay. Still 6-5. Oh, great wide angle. James Landeryou hitting that corner right by the encroachment line. It's perfect when you got two doubles players side by side.
It's a great shot in singles, but even a better shot in doubles. It was perfect angle.
Again, attacking James Landeryou. I find that an interesting decision. Well, there's a discussion going on between Tim Landeryou and the official. I think a replay was called. I'm not entirely sure.
I think it was a replay call, but Tim Landeryou wanted the avoidable.
Of course he did. Who wouldn't, right? That time Lee Connell puts one down. So we talked about momentum and how it changes between games. They lost the first 15-3, and now it's 7-5.
Yeah, it's a great response from Webb and Connell.
Wow, what a shot, Tim Landeryou. Beautiful forehand pinch.
Great way to stop that momentum and hopefully get back in control of this game and get ahead.
Looks like we have a quick towel break. One of the things we talked about in game one was, you know, just the number of unforced errors versus clean hit winners. And we've kind of been keeping track of that in game two. Why is it 7-5 as opposed to the 15-3 in game one that we saw?
Take a look, both teams have had a pretty much in terms of winners, the Landeryous may have had one, maybe two more winners, but in terms of mistakes, so unforced errors or skips, it's even on both sides, and you can see it reflects in the score. Webb and Connell have made a couple less errors. They're up by 2 points, so very tight game, but just shows that those errors really creep into the score and show themselves.
Ball goes above the 12-foot line. I think what Tim Landeryou is asking is next time, please call it. We all saw it, but you actually have to stop play. Otherwise, you should continue playing until you're told to stop.
I think it's been a problem all term. That line's really tough to call out from the ref's perspective, so they've left it to the players to call it, which doesn't always lead to it being called right away or in the best way possible.
Wow. Crazy looking swing there from Connell, but it worked.
Yeah, he's known for that. He has some wild swings out there, but he somehow controls the ball really well and hits it really clean down the line. It's tough to do.
Great hands from Tim Landeryou to keep it up. Webb. Connell. Wow. What hands from Tim Landeryou over on the left side. All tied 7-7. Really close second game. Back and forth it's been. Really long second game too.
Really tight. A lot different than the first game.
Oh my goodness. Lee Connell flies into the screen. Be a replay. Another replay. So the Landeryou's picking on Connell, double serving to him. When Webb and Connell serve, they pick on James Landeryou on the left. Is it working?
It definitely seems to be that they found the weaker players, at least in this match, on both teams, and no one's really strung together any points consistently, so it's tough to say. Everyone's playing fairly solid on both. They're just trying to find holes where they can and scrape together a point here and there. Anything to get a lead.
Well, James Landeryou scored a point with that great forehand pinch. And another point for the Landeryous. 9-7. Suddenly you start to feel maybe some pressure on Webb and Connell, knowing that they have to win this game.
Definitely. It's really advantage winning that first game. You always want to win the first game anyways, but to have that game up and then be up here deep in the second, huge mentally.
Well, looks like Webb and Connell will take a timeout. Let's stop the bleeding, I heard Connell tell Webb. And if we look back at our kind of statistics that we're keeping, we look at the Landeryous, 13 winners, 5 skips. That's a pretty good ratio. But then you look over at Webb and Connell, we're looking at 12 winners and 5 skips. And so that kind of explains why it's so close, because both are hitting good shots. Errors are coming in, but again, if you look at that ratio, one isn't superseding the other by a great margin.
No, it's just about three winners to 1 error. So, I mean, like I said, it translates into that score. They're only separated by 2 points. It's really tight here, and they're playing some clean ball out there. So definitely a shift from that first game where Webb and Connell were making a lot more unforced errors and skipping balls that they normally make or put away.
Absolutely. Well, just a reminder real quickly, if you look at our schedule, we have one more match coming up after this, and it's the men's doubles final. One I'm looking forward to. 2 brothers at each other. One's going home with a gold medal, one isn't, and so that'll be fun to watch. We hope you stick around for that. Iwasa Murray, that's Samuel Murray against Bousquet and Tommy Murray. Should be a great match.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. You have 4 really young athletic players who hit the ball really hard, make a ton of fantastic gets. It'll be some really, really exciting racquetball.
Well, here we're back in. It's 7-9. Webb and Connell took the timeout. Let's see if it helps them. We'll see what Webb comes up with on his serve. Comes up with a broken ball. So that'll be a replay. Beautiful from James Landeryou. Really attacked that lob serve, putting Connell in an awkward position, just trying to keep the ball up and put it down.
Yeah, great return. Gets a weak shot from Webb, and then he finishes that rally off exactly what he wanted to do.
Wow. You wonder at some point, are they going to go back to Tim Landeryou? I mean, James is hitting pretty clean right now.
Yeah, I think that's what happens to you. You find it's a bit weaker for a bit, but hit so many balls to them, they get into a nice rhythm. And, I mean, they're hitting a lot more winners now than they are errors, and it's paying off. And
there's another one for James Landeryou. We talked about yesterday his ability to really play well, play clean, and, you know, essentially won that game. Although they went to a tiebreaker, he was the one that really hit the winners between the 2 brothers.
Absolutely. No, he definitely played a bigger role in that match, and he seems to be in this one as well, especially since he's seeing so many more serves hit to his side.
Well, that time a mistake from him, not able to get the ball back. Second server, looks like he'll be serving over to Connell's side again. High lob Z, Connell waits for it. And a skip from Tim Landeryou. You know, it's interesting in doubles, you're so used to hitting on one side, a forehand or a backhand. Suddenly you have to switch and hit the other one, and it's just a little awkward sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you get so, you almost end up not cold on that side, but you're so used to hitting forehand after forehand after forehand, it's tough to get into that rhythm and have a good, solid, crisp swing.
And what we just saw is 2 backhand skips from Tim Landeryou.
He wants to be hitting those forehands again, especially if he's on that right side. That's where he's been stronger.
So here's an interesting one. The ball hit the crack in the back glass between the wall and the door and just went sideways. But I don't think that is actually a court hinder in Canadian rules.
No, they designate the court hinders before the match starts, and that is definitely not one of them. So they'll play the rally out as the ball went.
Avoidable hinder called. Nine serving 10. Beautiful from Webb. A little flick of the wrist, but still with power. 10-10, first of 5. Great second game.
What a difference from that first game, especially. Webb and Connell have responded really, really well here.
Wow, Connell hitting some crisp shots on the forehand side. Interesting swing, but it's certainly effective.
And that's what he needed to do coming into the second game here. Those were the ones he was missing, and that's why they got blown out in that first game here, and it's made all the difference. Now they're up.
You said he's a streaky player, but he's playing terrific in the last few minutes. Until then, of course, pulls up on his shot, buries it into the floor, side out 10-11. 5 points away are the Landeryous from this match. Well, what's the call? A replay called. Both agree. So a replay it will be. 2 line judges, one to our left, one to our right. The only time the referee's decision is changed is when one agrees and one disagrees. Excuse me, when both disagree. Oh no. Webb goes down. He twisted his right ankle. He got it caught on the left wall, and you could just see it buckle slightly.
Never good to see.
So in this situation, as an official, what happens if you're an official? What do you do in this situation?
So this is what we would call an injury timeout. So in Canadian racquetball rules, at least, you have 15 minutes. So he could either take that full 15 minutes now if he needs it. If he needs to take 5 minutes, get back in there and play. It's still bugging him. He can go take that timeout again and still have 10 minutes remaining. But it is considered an injury timeout if it's obtained during the match itself. You can't have a pre-existing injury and come in and still have an injury timeout.
Well, we can see Webb coming out the court, and all his weight is on one foot, so he's clearly hurt. We're going to turn off the mics ourselves, and we'll just let the stream run while we see if Webb can get back in this match. Clearly a concern for him and his partner Connell. So close. It's so tight in this second game. It's just one of those unfortunate things.
Definitely. No, he's been playing really well. It's been a really exciting match. It's a crunch time here, so really unfortunate to see.
So we'll take the injury timeout, and we'll be back with you once we know a little more. Well, if you're just joining us, everyone, just to let you know that we had an injury timeout. Trevor Webb was over on the left, got his foot caught on the wall as he was moving right, and twisted his right ankle. He's out in front of us receiving some treatment. I see him shaking his head, but looks like the players are coming back on the court. Maybe it's just the Landeryou trying to stay loose and warm, Mitch.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's getting up yet, but can understand the Landeryou wanted to stay warm just in case Webb's okay to keep playing this. You don't want to cool off too much.
And just a reminder that players are entitled to 15 minutes as part of this timeout. He's up on his feet. Looks like he's talking to a trainer. I guess the key question is, will he put his shoes on? If he puts his shoes on, I think he'll be good to go. But one of the things that we've talked about, yeah, it looks like he's getting it taped up. So it looks like he's going to be coming back on the court. But Mitch, this is a doubles tournament followed by a singles tournament, so this is a crucial decision.
Well, I mean, Trevor Webb's a tough kid. I mean, even if he can finish this match, you have to think you have 4 more days of some really tough singles ahead of you here. So it's that decision whether you want to, finish this match here, injury forfeit out, and save yourself and heal up for singles, or push yourself here and see what happens.
Well, let's a quick reminder, they lost the first, he and Connell 15-3 game 1, but they're up 11-10 in game 2. It's one of those decisions that, you may end up grateful that you got on the court and played because you came 3rd instead of 4th, versus, oh man, I wish I hadn't done that. That really wrecked my singles for the rest of the week.
It's tough to say. I mean, in this match, if they want to win this, there's a lot of racquetball left. I mean, they'd have to win a tiebreaker just to get that 3rd place, and I think there'll be a lot of regrets if he were to hurt himself any further and not have as good a showing in the singles, which is more important points-wise, especially to make the Canadian team.
Well, Webb is here with his father, who's the tournament director and also his coach. Yeah, it's one of those ones where you might want to have some advice rather than you having to make the decision yourself.
I think so, just especially in this instance. I mean, there's a lot of adrenaline, a lot of emotion right now. So if you have a couple of other trusted coaches, parents to give you some input and say what you should do, it makes making that decision a lot easier.
Well, and you mentioned the adrenaline, and that's also a big factor because sometimes it doesn't really feel too bad because you're pumped up, you're going, you're not feeling pain because you're in the middle of a match. And the reality is that you could be pretty injured. And how often have we seen athletes who say, I'm fine, just let me play, when really they're not.
Always going to have to take that in consideration, too. The last thing he wants is to get back to his hotel tonight, rest, and wake up tomorrow morning and all of a sudden be completely unable to play that singles match that he has first round, or be at a complete disadvantage knowing he's not 100%.
Well, it does look like his right ankle is being taped up, so play should resume here in a minute. We'll go back off air and just come back when they're ready to play. Well, welcome back, everybody. Tim Baghurst joined by Mitch Braley here at the Canadian National Championships. Plenty of drama today, but we've had some on this court where Trevor Webb, over on the back left, sprained his ankle, getting his right foot caught on the wall. He came out with an injury timeout after a long time, a long break, Mitch. He got it taped up, and we're back going.
Interested to see how this changes the momentum, if at all, in this game here. I mean, if Webb can play at a decent level, if that ankle injury doesn't affect him too much, we could be in for a tiebreaker here.
And that's what Webb wants, is a big skip from James Landeryou. It's difficult sometimes when your opponents go off the court with an injury timeout to come back with the same motivation and level, and you know, you're thinking about them being injured. Should I hit it to them more? Kind of changes the dynamic sometimes.
Yeah, it's tough just to stick to your game plan. At the same time, you cool off a bit. You got to make sure you're staying warm, staying loose, and not thinking too much about the injury.
Point for the Landeryou brothers. In the same instance, you got to think of Connell, who goes, you know what? Maybe I need to do more because my teammate is injured, and so they try to do a bit too much.
Yeah, and I think we'll have to keep one out here, see if he makes any unforced errors, going for shots that are, you know, too big or lower percentage to make up for that injury on the left side with Webb.
Well, the Landeryou still sticking to the serve over to Connell. And you saw his expression. Huge skip on the right side. 2 quick points for the Landeryous. Well, you heard that, I think. Come on, says Connell. (11-13) is the score. Webb drive serve. A bit loose. Second serve coming up. You can see his right ankle heavily taped. It looked like a skip from here. I think we'll see an appeal. Well, one agreed with the official and one said they couldn't see. So a point. Always a difficult decision in such situations for an official. Half out. No room for us to see. Everybody watching this match now, Mitch.
No, it's standing room only here.
Great get from Connell. But not that time. Sprawls to the right side. Applause from the crowd around us. Great effort. But still down 13-12. Short serve. High lob down the right side coming. It's a good serve. Oh, and there's an example of where Webb was clearly impeded with his ankle.
Yeah, definitely. We were wondering how that would affect him at the end of the second game here, and that's a shot he would have had any other time in this match.
Landeryou drive serve. Short serve. Match point. James Landeryou will shoot this. And there's the skip. There's the match. 15-12. The Landeryous close it out. You got to feel sad for Connell and Webb. I mean, it was so close. They had the lead, and then it just kind of all went flat.
I mean, they've had such a great tournament so far, so it's really unfortunate to see it end like that, even though, you know, all the credit in the world to Trevor Webb for, you know, getting back on there and toughing it out. But that's definitely not how you want to end a match, even if you're the Landeryous winning that third place.
Well, just a reminder, we have one more match coming up, and it should be a firecracker. We have men's doubles. It's the final. Iwasa and Murray, Samuel Murray, against Bousquet, excuse me, and Murray. That's brother Tommy Murray, and they're walking across in front of us and onto the court to get ready. So we're going to leave the stream running, and we're going to be back in just a few moments to offer you the final. Let's see who goes home with gold.